Heidi ho everyone, and happy hump day to you. I don't know why it just shuts me off, so I can't talk. I guess that's sometimes not such a bad thing. I'm very pleased you could join us for hump day, and let's get stuck in, shall we? I'm a little bit disorganized. Okay, I know I'm always disorganized, but today I am seriously disorganized. All right, I don't think we did any good yesterday with the pound trade, did we? So let's get rid of that. And the one from the day before has also gone after hitting TP1 only. So we're not having a great week with that. In fact, we're not having a great run with that. Let's see what today has on offer. 1, 2, 3. They're the three bars that we're trading as a breakout. Those of you joining us for the first time, we isolate the last three bars prior to London Open on the hourly chart, pound US dollar. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, they are the three bars. We then set a trade long above the high, and we put our stop loss below the bar that is responsible for the high. And we also place a short order underneath the bar that is responsible for the low, and we put our stop loss above the bar that is responsible for the low. Hey, Paul P, how you doing, buddy? If I'm in pound on a different time frame, does it cancel your trade where you put on breakout trade? Gary, if you are in a pound dollar on a different time frame, does it cancel your trade where you put on breakout trade? You mean the trade manager, Gary, or the platform or the broker? I'll have to think about that one a little bit. Let's have a look. I think we can probably set the parameters here. We've got a high at 138.977, so the entry will become 1.3898 for the long. 1.3898. The stop loss will be underneath that bar. We round this down, by the way, guys, to the nearest whole pip. So the low of this candle is 1.3887. We'll take that down to 1.388. And TP1 is half of the risk that we take. So we're taking 10 pips of risk. So we'll put a TP1 at 5 pips, and I'm hoping that's going to be before the daily pivot. It should be. That will be 1.3903 for TP1. TP2 is double the risk, so that'll be 20 pips, and that will bring us in at 1.3918. Okay, so there's the long order. I think I can safely place that, but I won't. Stranger things have happened right in the last minute or so. So the sell, sorry, I better get the level, hadn't I? The sell will be at 1.3869. 1.3869. The stop loss just above that bar, rounded up, 1.3886 at this stage. That may change. $1.3886, and TP1 we can work out from there. So it's 17 pips of stop loss. So we'll go half of that, which is 8.5, but we'll round it down to 8. So our first take profit will be at 1.3861. And our second take profit, double the risk, which was 17, so it's 34, will bring us in at 1.3835. Okay, and we should be getting pretty close to that being ready to go. So I'll place the long. Again, guys, if you are trading this, please do not trade it with any serious money on the table, because it is still in test phase. 1.3898 is the buy. And the stop loss is 1.3888. So that one's placed. The short, pardon me, the short is at 1.3869. And the stop loss is 1.3886. There we go. That doesn't look good. Stop loss there. Oh, yeah, it's okay. All good. Righto, so there are our entry levels, guys. And TP1 on the long, 1.3903 should be well in front. Yeah, there. So that's all good. TP1 on the short, 1.3861, which is just on DS1, I think. Pretty close. All right, so they're the levels that we need first up. Now, for those of you here for the first time, welcome to you once again. Hi, Helen. Hi, Kit. Can I advise the trade for daily? I'm not sure what that means. Kit, if you could just go a little bit more with that one. The trade for daily. Do you mean this breakout trade, which we're trading on a 1 hour chart, and we're trading the pound versus the US dollar, and it is an OCO trade. So if the buy triggers, we cancel the sell. If the sell triggers, we cancel the buy. We cannot trade hourly for daily wave rider. Okay. This is not daily wave rider, obviously. So I'm not sure where you go from there. I'm not sure what that means, Kit, that you can't trade for a daily wave rider. Do you mean you are restricted to trading daily wave rider on an ATW account? Perhaps that's what you mean. If that's the case, yes, you would have to trade this on your private account or demo account. I would actually advise that because, like I said from the outset, this is not a proven system or strategy. It is very much in test mode. I'm just trading it in front of you, so there's no mirrors and hiding things. We can only do what's in front of us, right? So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I would strongly advise that you don't trade this with any serious money. Micro lots at the very best. So if that's what you mean, Kit, then I'm assuming you are on well, you would be one on a daily wave rider, but that has nothing to do with this. So yeah, you probably can't trade it on an ATW account. So just to explain what we're doing, again, for those of you new, and I see there are a few new ones in the room, thank you, welcome aboard. We're trading the breakout of the 3 bars prior to London Open. So that's this line here. So that's the high of the 3 bars. That's the low of the 3 bars. There's 2 ways to trade this. One is an optimized version, and that I have given you the parameters for before, but I'll give it to you again. The optimized version is a breakout of the previous 5 bars. Okay, Kit, just address your questions to everyone if you can, so that everyone can see. Please, unless it is really private. Okay, so the optimized version is trading the 5 bars prior, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Today it's exactly the same breakout levels, but the optimized version suggests that we trade 3 pips above the high of the breakout bar or of the level of the breakout and 2 pips below the level of the breakout. And moreover, you take all off. There's no TP1, there's no TP2. You take everything off at first resistance. In this case, it would be the daily pivot for the long and DS1 for the short. So it's all out there or all out there, whichever one triggers, okay? So that optimized version, we're not actually trading it, but we are monitoring it. We're not trading it because I can't keep up with it, guys. I'm just too old and too slow. I can't place two trades and trade them, talk to you guys and try and see what's happening in the market at the same time. It just doesn't work. So that's why we're only trading one version of this. But the second version is in front of us at the moment over the last 3 or 4 weeks and doing okay. Not brilliantly, but doing okay. You'll tend to find that when the market's like this, as it was yesterday, that you're not going to get anything out of it the day before. A little bit out of that you could get, a little bit out of that you could get, but yeah, when the market's like that, you're not going to go too far, that's for sure. All right, so no, never too old. That's right, Helen. To do what? To do what? Anything. I get it. Right, I'm going to catch up with a few positions that we have been taking over the last little bit. CAD Swiss we tried to get into last week, trading the double cross of the weekly pivot. Didn't work. Maybe we're a little bit over exuberant with our TP1 because we didn't get our TP1, which was down here somewhere, and it shot back up. Ultimately, we were looking for a lower high. This may well be it, but look where it is, trading straight into these pivots. There's a whole lot of noise there. So I'm pretty much not happy at the moment with CAD Swiss. I'll just leave that for another time. I think if we get clear of the pivots, come back and retest them, then get a lower high, different story, but it's not there at the moment. Euro CAD, the only reason I've got that really is because we're on it in a monthly trade, trading this bar here. We are in profit, but our TP1 is at this level. We haven't got there yet, and it could take to Christmas before we do. So just be patient with that one. The good part is we're getting paid for being in the trade with positive swaps. It's about the only good. Well, we're in profit, I suppose, but yeah, it's hardly an exciting ride, is it, at this point? If it goes to here, we can start to get excited. Aussie dollar, we're in that long. Thinking about adding to this, actually. It'll depend on how this candle close. Well, the last 4-hour candle was okay. But trading into an untested daily pivot is something that I just do not do. We're trading this for free at the moment because we have taken first profit. If it were to come down and take our trailing stop, that wouldn't be the end of the world. But this looks like an interesting place to scale into me. The daily pivot is my only drawback. Otherwise, I would have an entry there, and I would have a stop loss under the weekly pivot for the second scale in. Yeah, look, I think I'll hang about. I think I'll wait for that. He who hesitates is lost, they say, or is patience a virtue? One of those. Which one's going to be right? I'll go with patience is a virtue and wait till this happens. Love to see price come down to here, hit the weekly pivot, then climb its way back above the trade line and retest the confluence area. Then there's a scale in. That's on an hourly chart, so we'll have to keep awake for that one. Dollar Sing, we got poleaxed out of this one. We had taken first profit, which was there, as you can see, and we trailed our stop. Thought it was safe above the weekly pivot and the monthly pivot and the 3 as it was yesterday, but that wasn't the case. So our trailing stop got hit, and that was just slightly less than break even. We'd have to say it was a very, very small loss because I didn't want to trail the stop to the, what was it, 20 pips we took, I think, 30 pips we took at TP1, because I thought the logical place to put it was above weekly pivot and DR3 as it was yesterday. Didn't matter. Just went straight through it. I think I'll just give this one a rest for now. I'm a little bit miffed at what the dollar has done overnight. Why? I have no idea. It gapped up overnight. And the OCO trade, sure. There it is. There it is. You can take a snapshot of that. And I'll, as soon as you're done, go briefly back or straight back to Dollar Sing via. All good, Helen? Happy days. Actually, we'll have a quick look at this while we're here. CPI figures, yearly CPI figures out on the pound. Interesting. It was a beat. That won't do the pound any harm, but I don't know that they'll be jumping out of their seats to press the buy button either, to be fair, but not bad news, that's for sure. Waiting on retail sales to come out at 1:30 p.m. GMT, which is, of course, 5 hours and 20 minutes from now. I'll probably be in snoozy land at that point. Tomorrow is the big one, I think, for me this week. And it is the employment or unemployment figures coming out for the Aussie, tipping that to be an improvement again on previous. I'm not so sure about that, but the Aussie's in standby mode at the moment, I think, waiting for that figure because we haven't gone too far. We're sitting just above or on our entry as it is. We are free trading, so not an issue, but that number there tomorrow, I think, will probably seal our fate on the Aussie if it is a good number. Certainly if it's a beat of 6.5, then I would expect the Aussie would rally on the back of that. I can hear Ash in the background. G'day, buddy.
Hello, mate. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I'm good. I'd agree with you as well about the Aussie. I think the Aussie is my favourite currency, but there are quite important numbers, I suppose, over the next 2 days, and maybe just a little bit of a developing story as well. What we got going on. CPI numbers out of the United Kingdom today were pretty solid as it goes, mate. We had lots in the way of food sales numbers, food prices, which were quite a bit higher. So the CPI data year over year, I think core CPI year on year coming in at 1.4, but the CPI year on year at 0.7. It's just creeping up a little bit, and I wonder whether we might be starting to get that story playing out into the markets. Gold and silver have been having a bit of a rotten run, but in some respects, I'm quite happy with that because I would really like to buy some gold and silver. I've got some kind of physical, but I'd quite like to trade it as well. And I have tried. I've tried to get into a couple of bits with gold and silver, but to no avail. And I think the words that you were saying a few days ago is ringing in my ears a little bit about the silver chart on the weekly, and I wonder whether we might just get a bit more downside on silver before there is a genuine opportunity.
Hasn't really done too much, has it? Where is silver chart? I got one here somewhere.
Not too much, no.
Kind of up and down like father's pants, isn't it? Really.
It's not the cleanest. I mean, the 4 hour is probably the best picture to look at with silver, because there is what looks like it could be a break of a trend line on the 4 hour. So if that was to play out, then maybe we see silver down. You see it down there. You can see it actually from the left. Maybe not.
You're going right down here or coming from here?
Yeah, probably coming from there. I would say is better.
Here?
Yes.
Is there where you want it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you were right the first time, and you look at those pivots as well. It looks like it's got that resistance point now in silver. So silver looks to me like it could be coming down a little bit. Gold is buying gold. Lewis is buying gold at 1765. I think that's okay, Lewis. Depending on your kind of leverage, I think that's okay. 1765. Where would that be? 1765 is.
Mate, if you could take the chart for a little bit.
Yeah, sure thing,
I've
mate.
got a message I have to send. I'll be here, but I've just got a message I have to send.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Let's do that then. So let me put this on clean. There we go. Yeah, so if we look at the gold chart here, you're saying 1765. 1765. That might be on a different. Oh, it's pretty much the same, isn't it? It's about 20 pips. Yeah, pretty much the same as the futures. So let's have a look at that. 65. Yeah, you're right, actually. That does look pretty good, doesn't it? I was looking at a potentially a bit lower than that, but I think that's a really good point to try and start building into the position. You know, why not? Why not try and grab something there? Because it's obviously support, isn't it? And it's the first line of support, really. So,
We'll ask Ainsley shortly when she comes in if that's her level. Hey.
oh, that'd be really good. I mean, I think it could come a little bit lower. I'm still waiting. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to get. I think Lewis is right. I mean, I would quite like to get into it at that point, and I probably will. I probably will start buying at that point. But I think that there's potentially just this trend line here, which kind of then suggests that it could be at the bottom of this instead. And if we start to use that level there, which is at 1685, which is what another $80 away from the first price point. So I'll be okay, to buy there. It might not be even that far down. It does start to get in that area, doesn't it? But if we start bringing this trend line down, maybe clean it up so it goes to the low, then it may well be this point here, might well be this horizontal level, and that's on a weekly. On the monthly, the two levels on the monthly look like they are here, probably here and here. And this one's at 1550, 1565 actually. So buying at 1765 all the way down to 1565 would be my strategy. I'll be quite happy to do that. Oh, I want gold up as well, Helen. I want gold up as well. I own physical gold, and silver actually, because I think that there is inflation coming and whatever else. The bond bond yields rising don't help gold much. So it could be a bit of a strange kind of period, but we're seeing a little bit of selling off with the stock market today. Gold doesn't really kick in seasonally until another 2 weeks, maybe even a little bit longer than that. We will ask Ainsley about that. So it's a little while longer before gold really starts to see the pickup. But I'd agree with Lewis. I think this 1665 looks like the first buy point, as a trade, and then making sure you've probably got enough cover to continue to buying right up until 1550, I would say. When it comes to silver, which I'd quite like to buy at the same time, it doesn't give it the same technical patterns. I suppose you could say 2650. 2650 with silver. There's a trend line here. That looks better, doesn't it? So maybe 25. Yeah, so silver looks like 25.75, and because of that, this could be suggesting that gold maybe could come down a little bit more. What's that, 25? Yeah, that's quite a big drop with silver. That's almost a 5% drop before silver looks really attractive. It might be steeper than that. Not much though. Actually, this looks like a really good line. I think silver at 25 to 75 looks right. I think that looks right. So it's one of those that if you're really keen to get in, I mean, on the dailies it doesn't look that far away, but if you're really keen to get in with something like silver, then I would say buying right up until around about the 25.75, maybe 25.50 looks about right to me. But yeah, that looks like it could come down a bit further. But yeah, interesting dynamics really with gold and silver. There looks like there could be a bit of inflation coming back in. We've seen WTI just pick up off the back of that story in Texas yesterday, where they had the power outage and lack of oil production. We did see WTI just pick up a bit, but actually it's just easing back off again. Just easing back off again. You'd have to say, you know, WTI is the same. You know, this is another one that you'd really want to be in, but probably not here. Could go a bit higher. Maybe it gets up to $63 a barrel, but you kind of want this one back down, probably at this level. This looks strong, doesn't it? This looks like a really good level. So with WTI, you're looking at around about $50 a barrel. I think all of them could do with coming down a bit. They may well be having a bit of a blowout top. So all of them coming down a bit. You were shorting oil. That would be dangerous, in my opinion, Lewis. I think this is the best price, but that news yesterday didn't really support any downward movement, any significant downward movement in oil. I mean, don't get me wrong. Technically speaking, it looks like it will come down, doesn't it? But you are waiting for a bit of news and data to help you out, and so far that just hasn't arrived. But I understand it. I certainly understand the play to try and get on a technical level to try and get on silver on a short. Sorry, on oil on a short. It looks like could be a little area here as well. Yeah, actually, this area looks good. You look at this. There's a touch there, a pretty clean touch. Now we're on the monthly chart here, which could make this even more significant. So I'm going to have to come out. This one, touch here, but that's the significant one there. Little touch there and here actually. So there's two touches there that we look like we're through. Now that kind of suggests that we're not coming down that much further. Let's just see. It's going to be tightened up a little bit. Actually, it's not too bad. That's not too bad. So buying for me would be around about the 55. The UK, well, so the FTSE, I think there's a bit of weakness, you know, probably coming. There's certainly a reversal looking pattern here. You know, you look at that. I mean, that is a head and shoulders. So I would say there's a reversal coming on the FTSE. Let me just see what the barometers are suggesting about today. Yeah, I mean, not really suggestive today, but you know, taking a short in the FTSE, I don't think that's the worst trade in the world. Let's have a look and see what's going on with the other markets. The Nikkei actually suffered a little bit today, not too much, but I think the Nasdaq's the one that's the most interesting at this stage. I would like to short the Nasdaq somewhere around about 13,800. I think that there's a possibility that we start to see this come down. And I'd quite like it just at the top end of this bar here on the 4 hourly. In fact, you see it easier on the hourly. Just this area here, I'd quite like to see if there's a short on, and it really is just a case of drawing some of these levels and seeing where the rubber meets the road. Let's have a look at a fib on that as well and see what price point that suggests. Yeah, 50% retracement. 13,800 to me looks interesting with the Nasdaq, and it looks like it will possibly pop higher first. Just looking at this this price action here, possibly pop higher first into this area, and then we might start to see some downside with the Nasdaq. So I think global markets could be maybe just easing off a little bit. I think I've heard some people calling for a 10% correction. Not quite sure what will promote that. I kind of agree with it, but I don't know what will promote it. S&P also started to move down. Yeah, so it seems like an equity correction may have started. I think you're right, Swee, and I probably will put an order here with the Nasdaq at 13,800. Now, looking at the VIX to get some kind of indication of whether we're getting the volatility back. There has been a pop. Look at this pop in the VIX 3 days ago. that could be significant. And I was talking to Lloyd about the VIX and saying that, and this was the day before we were talking, and he was saying, you quite like to buy the VIX, with some potential protection involved and knowing how it goes up. And we were talking about this level, saying that actually with the VIX below 2320, it didn't look very attractive. But now the VIX has popped up again. I wonder whether this gap may close and then we start to see the VIX creep higher. Now, this would suggest an equity downturn. And you're right, Sweet. I think the S&P is starting to look just a little bit stretched as well. And is this the start of a head and shoulders pattern? Is this a left shoulder and is this a head up here? Could be, couldn't it? Could be. And even if it didn't play out, it may still form. So I'd quite like a short in the equities. I do particularly like the Nasdaq. But I quite like, I think a short in the FTSE, no problem with that. Looks like shorting right the way down to this level here around about 65.55 looks like a decent looking trade to me. Yeah, always like a good head and shoulders, Helen. My favourites. But let's watch out for the Nasdaq. Let's see if we can get that price. If it gets to 13,800, I will be selling this. I think it looks quite good there. No, I don't know what that price point there is. Yeah, you see how it's just a bit it's hemmed in down here. So it's got to get through that point. But if it does, we might see that right shoulder start to form, come down here on the neckline, test there, and then go. There might be but I do think a bit of downside. I think the market's just got a bit too keen. Everybody's kind of calling for higher and higher and higher. Bitcoin is now through $50,000 and the top end again of this particular pattern. I can't subscribe to the rally with Bitcoin. It looks to me like, again, this should be coming lower before going higher. Don't get me wrong, Nasdaq, Bitcoin, both very bullish on, but they just look like they are getting overconfident. Everything's getting a bit overconfident here, and we know what happens when that tends to transpire. So I would be looking at shorting some of these kind of some of these the risk on assets right now. And actually that brings us to the yen, which I'm quite interested in the pound. I've been interested in the pound Aussie and not been able to get the right trade or out of the pound Aussie, but the pound yen also interested me for some potential downside. Now the pound's now had its news out. Is there a setup with the pound? Not really, but look where it is. This is what I find quite interesting with the pound. I know it is through quite a few levels. It is through this level right now on the monthly, but it would suggest maybe a test of that area. And if you just kind of start to slide along this horizontal line, then it's getting pretty close to one that was here.
I can go with the yen. The pound Aussie is an interesting choice, Ash. They're the strongest between them.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
on the board by a long shot. There's nothing near them, really.
Yeah, agreed. And it has been tough actually. Trying to get into a trade. I did get into a trade with a pound, but I had to get rid of it because it just wasn't likely to kind of perform. And I now don't know whether it can perform to the downside. But yeah, you're right, mate. It's technically speaking, it is up there with the Aussie. I just don't really believe in the UK economy. I suppose that's the big problem. But people seem to be reacting off vaccines, and now we've had that CPI data.
It is really difficult to go against what you think. Inside you're saying this can't happen, this can't happen, this can't happen. But as we both know, it can and does.
Yeah, and that's really what's happened. Yeah,
whatever flipping reason, it just does.
Yeah, and it's been a bit too frustrating. So I've moved out of the way with that now. I think there are probably going to be things that are a little bit easier out there. But from what we've had so far this week, we're really kind of like, things are bullish on oil. It's the same with gold actually. Gold, I'll be bullish on. The overall picture is bullish, but maybe the technical picture doesn't match it at this stage. So it's better just to clear out the way and see if it can. And the same with silver. What you saw with silver a couple of days ago, I think was really interesting because of what happened with the Reddit crowd and the way that that silver has reacted really in kind of differently to gold. A few days ago, maybe a week or so ago, we were talking about a potential hedge where we bought silver and sold gold, and it would have been a great trade as it happened. But there is a bit of a decoupling kind of going on right now where silver continues to be fairly stable while gold is selling off.
I mean, you've just got to look at that skyrocket, that's been in all year, or since when, March or something, is it? February,
this
March,
one here,
where it took off. Yeah.
That would have May, June, July. Actually, July is this bar here.
And then it started to come off. And then, for want of a better word, the intervention of the Reddit crowd couldn't take it above the highs.
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah.
And then, look, don't get me wrong, I'm not a silver trader, but you know where I think logic to me says that, okay, if it couldn't get through that high with all of that pump, something else is going to happen.
Yes, absolutely. And in some respects, I don't know who's long. So I don't know if Helen was saying, pound yen soon found its long. There's nothing wrong with that, and certainly with what we've just been discussing with the pound is very strong at the minute. So being long, I think anything with the pound,
a great trade to be in, I reckon.
Yeah, I'd agree, especially if you're well out of trouble, if the price action is very much above where you entered, then you want to right now the picture doesn't look like it's changing for the pound. I thought it would, but it just hasn't. Who was saying that they were long? I want to buy gold for your birthday, Helen. You want to buy gold for your birthday? Well, I'm not sure when your birthday is. But if it's in the next couple of months, it might be a very good time. You never know. You might.
Helen,
might be there.
You only have one every 5 years, don't you?
Every 5 years. March the 1st. Oh, wow, that's a good time. Good time, Helen. I would suggest that's 2 weeks' time. So hopefully it'll be down here or a bit lower. No, who was saying somebody? So I can't believe gold can go that low to 15. It could. I mean, anything can happen, can't it? I mean, this is the thing. Everybody's got sort of talking up Bitcoin and saying, a friend of mine is adamant that the Bitcoin is not coming down to before it gets to 100,000. He said, he was sort of saying there won't be another bear market in Bitcoin. And that that kind of talk and opinion always concerns me. When people think that an asset class just climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs without any kind of retracement, it does concern me. You look at this on a monthly, and I'm sure most of you will be looking at this and going, "Wow, that looks dangerous." It's a bit like a stilt walker. The higher those stilts go, the more danger he's taking on, the more risk he's taking on, and anything that knocks it off up here, then there's a big fall to the ground. And I wonder whether, okay, I'm not saying it's going to come down to 20,000 necessarily. It could, but this looks dangerous to me. And this is a monthly chart. This isn't a 1 minute chart. This is a monthly chart.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just. I'd like to. I think I'd kind of like to get involved in the Bitcoin story, mate. But I'm not that bothered. It doesn't.
I'm happy to be involved in cryptos, but I'm not happy to be involved in Bitcoin.
Me too. That's kind of where I am at.
It's too far out there,
Yeah, agreed.
But you can pin your coattails to it. I think that's just fine. If you follow Shukri, I don't have a problem. I couldn't get involved in it because I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. But if I can do it through Shukri, then I'm more than happy to do that. If I go to school on him, I think that's well worth the investment.
I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Ethereum as well, 18,000 for Ethereum. Let's just have a look at that chart. Yeah, I mean that also looks like it's got no foundations up here to stay there. Yeah, and it's happened.
It's so difficult to comment on because it's never happened before. We haven't had. Well, sorry, that's not true. We go back to Bretton Woods. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. This is a paradigm shift.
Yeah, that's true.
And if the paradigm shift actually occurs and it's in the shape of Bitcoin, for instance, then they're talking 330,000 or something.
Oh, I hear all sorts of numbers, mate, right up to 1 million.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, 100,000, 300,000.
I can't argue against that. Can I trade it? Shit, no. Not a hope in hell.
Well, do you know, I agree with you, and I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? I can't justify the way that the chart looks. I just can't. I can't get involved. When a monthly chart looks like that, it just sends out alarm bells for me. But in saying that,
there'll be people who buy here. If they've got the tenacity to hang on, then if it does hit 300,000, then they're going to laugh all the way to the bank and say we're all wrong. But how do you justify? Where are we? 50,000 or something?
Yeah, for 51,000, pretty much.
Where do you put your stop?
Well, and this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem is that there's probably no way that many of the buyers that are involved here have got to stop. And Elon Musk kind of buying does support prices. There's no doubt about that. But Elon Musk bought 35, I think Shukri was saying yesterday, and that leaves us that's 15. Wow, so it's another 40% higher. No, not as much as that, is it? Yeah, it is. It's another 40% higher
on yesterday
from where Elon Musk bought it. So this could easily come back down to 40, and I think there'll be a few people left holding the baby up there as well. That'd be in percentage terms quite a big jump down. I suppose the question is what drives it lower?
Is he a trader or is he an investor? I don't know. Got no idea.
Elon Musk?
Is he a pump and dump, or I don't know?
Oh, do you know what? I mean, this is one of the points that somebody was making the other day about Elon Musk, that he's the kind of world's best con man because he's made all this money from never taking a company profitable. And their theory is, and it's not my theory, I'm just repeating. Their theory is that Elon Musk is buying Bitcoin so Tesla is profitable. So he's basically investing the profits, the investing money from Tesla into Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin goes up, then he can say that Tesla's profitable because it's on the balance sheet of Tesla.
Okay.
Yeah,
must be nice to have play money. Must be nice to have play money like that.
Yeah, I know, mate. Yeah. 1.5 billion would be quite useful, wouldn't it?
Couldn't hurt.
But he won't be bothered, mate. I mean, he'll be able to get money from any, even if the whole thing went to zero, Elon Musk would always be able to source cash because people trust him. And regardless of whether it's right that he's never taken a company profitable, he's one clever dude. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing, and maybe his strategy has never been to take it profitable. He sold PayPal and he sold it for a pretty hefty profit, and that's now profitable. So maybe it's just not his game. He's sort of
he's got to pay. You got to pay tax when you make a profit. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is the thing, and the other aspect of it is, in some respects, the guy that was saying this about him, saying that he's the biggest fraud. It's like, well, how can you really kind of like throw that at him when he's one of the richest men in the world? I don't know if he's the richest at the minute. I'm not sure, but because that keeps flipping around. But he's one of the richest men in the world from not taking a company profitable. So he's doing something right.
He's beating me, I've got to say.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind having an unprofitable trading account and being one of the richest men in the world. It'd be quite useful.
I don't know if you were able to do it. Can you? Jiray's asked, can we look at a GameStop chart? Are you able to do that? I certainly can't.
Yeah, we can look at that. Yep. GameStop. Oh, I mean, I can look at it, but it won't be. It might not be the nicest chart to look at. Hold on.
Okay, guys, I will update you on the trades that I got halfway through that. We are in about 3 or 4 trades.
There's GameStop, mate, on the weekly. That's on a daily. From here to, yeah.
Wow.
What would you call that? Look at this one.
A mess.
Look at that one. That one is just, that's the crazy one there.
Yeah, I'll say, geez.
And what's interesting, so let's have a look at, yeah, I mean, this is about 3 days before they did the same with silver.
So that's who's winning there?
Sorry?
Who's winning there?
Well, anybody that bought here, I suppose, and sold up here.
Gee whiz,
17.
If you buy in the middle, you're going to have a hell of a ride.
Oh, gosh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially if you don't know what you're doing. I mean, anybody that bought that with leverage would have been panicking, I think, somewhat. You know, that would have really hurt some people. There's no two ways about that. But it's just it's interesting, isn't it? You know, they did this. That was the 28th of January, and then when we go to silver on the dailies, they kind of like popped that one on the pretty much the day after, 2 days after. Within a couple of days, they've done this to silver.
Angel, can you do me a favor, please? Could you send Ainsley a link? The one I've given her is not working, please.
Yeah. So who wanted to look at that?
Jiray.
Jiray, yeah.
Why Jiray? Is it because it's so freaky a chart, or are you involved in it, or?
You when we say have a look at it, you don't mean just have a look at it. Do you mean analyze it?
Yeah, I can't analyze that. I've got no hope.
Well, I mean, there is some support here. It's a tricky one. Let's just see what we got for time frames. I mean, is it worth analyzing this technically? That's the first question, really. Because
and that's my point. I can't commit to it because I've got no confidence in it.
Oh, is it a buy zone? Is it a buy zone technically? I think you mean. I haven't got a clue if it's a buy zone. Is it a buy zone? Let's have a look.
Sweet, to answer your question, yes, it is. Absolutely, it is a key reversal bar. Terrible place where the weekly pivot is in that, but yeah, it is. It's definitely a key reversal bar.
Right, dailies. Let's have a look back here and see if we can get any kind of idea of. Probably not yet. Probably not yet, Jira, I would say. It's difficult round here because these, you know, this price action at this particular point is quite difficult to analyze because it's so tight and so small in here. But probably I would say back to this low here. That looks to me like the most obvious place right now. Looks like there might be a trend line that meets it. So 35 probably would be starting to get interesting. Technically, I haven't got a clue about GameStop fundamentally, but 35 technically speaking. Yes, we could go through their balance sheet and see whether they're a company worth buying. But the question really I would have is that now the strategy of buying this particular stock has been unearthed, will they go in again at GameStop, or will they pick something else where the eyes are off?
Yeah, I think to my mind, there are way easier charts to read than that, and if you want to trade technically, then there are way easier charts to read than that, and they've got far better and more reliable history than this. So I think this would be a huge gamble. If you want to take a massive gamble, then go for it. It could go back to where it was, but for mine, that's not the game I'm playing. I'm playing a completely different game, and there's no point me looking at that. Not interested.
Yeah, I know I'm not the slightest bit interested either. I think that would be a really tricky trade, and I think if you know about, yeah, if you're kind of in the loop with what's going on with Reddit, and you know that there is going to be some buying going on, that might be a different picture. That might be a different story. But I'm with you, Jeff. I think I don't know anything about Reddit. I did sign on when the whole thing went off, but I was there for about a day, and I found it quite a difficult website to be around. So to have on, because it's quite young. The language is quite young, and
exactly right. And look, I want to sound like an old dinosaur, although I am an old dinosaur. I don't really want to sound like that. I'm more than willing to look at getting into shukri stuff, but I'm just not willing to, from a technical perspective, which is what I do, trade a chart that's telling me that chart that we just looked at without proper history. I just can't do it. It's not in me, but I'm more than willing to. I did a presentation at a trading retreat called "You Can Teach an Old Dog New Tricks," and I'm more than willing to learn, but it's got to make sense to me, and that chart doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah.
Did I hear A in the room?
I think you have.
I am here. Hello, boys. How are we?
Yeah, we're good, thanks, Ainsley. How's things with you?
Oh, not too bad. We're in hump day, so it's like that.
Yeah,
you're in hump month, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a bit like look, we're 2 weeks into the 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks?
Yep.
2 and a bit weeks into the school year, and I'm like,
mine hasn't even started yet, Ainsley.
But
mine's over 40.
Sorry, Jeff?
I said he hasn't started. I said mine was over 40 years ago, 45 years ago.
You. Although my youngest hit high school this year, so I'm just like, that means I've turned the corner and I'm on the downhill run.
Yeah.
Happy days. There you go.
Yeah.
What's going on, mate?
What is going on? Just on that Reddit nonsense. And I call it nonsense because it's speculation, and what it is, it's pump and dump.
But it is to you and I. But there are people who I think
don't get me wrong,
legitimately involved in it, and they can find ways to do it. But it's not for you and me. Definitely not for you and me. It's
a trade, and it's a high risk trade. Elon Musk has even has tweeted, because he went recently to a dinner where he was meeting his kids for dinner and got stopped by people wanting his autograph because they'd made a lot of money on the GameStop or Dogecoin or whatever it is he tweeted on. Sorry, it was Bitcoin he tweeted on for 1.5 and Dogecoin. And he said, whoa, stop, guys. This is all speculative. Don't ever think of putting all your money or your life savings on this. He said, it was just, as a guess, for somebody who's worth, he slipped below Jeff Bezos this afternoon because Tesla shares dropped. So he's only worth $191 billion today. Anyway, so for him to put $1.5 billion into Bitcoin is nothing in the scheme of things, and he bought it, and God knows where he bought it at, but the fact that it actually tweaked 51,000 about half an hour ago is irrelevant, right? So, he's saying just don't do that. He's doing it because it's speculative, and it's speculative without any underlying assets per se. So he's just saying be careful with that. So if he's tweeting out there saying that. Now, the other thing that they were trying to do was this Reddit lot was trying to move the silver market, and there was talk today about they're trying to move the oil market and get on top of the oil market. And they're just saying not going to be quite as easy with that because it's too big. They tried it with silver, and there was this screamer on the silver with everybody piling in. But just as quickly, that silver chart, it came flying back down, not as quickly as GameStop, but the silver market just was too big, and the oil market is bigger again. So they're not going to be able to move it with the same parameters or chit chat that they were talking about before. So
what happens? What happens, Ainsley? With I mean, oil. I thought was really interesting. I was trying to jump on a trade yesterday with oil after I heard about the outage in Texas.
Yeah. So
didn't last long though.
Did not last long at all. But oil's had a really good. Have you got an oil chart there, honey?
Yes. Let's bring up WTI. It was.
Or US oil is all right too.
Guys, by the way, we did get triggered long pound US dollar. We hit TP1 by 1/10 of a pip, and we're now out for a break-even trade.
Yeah. So you can see oil after, you can see it starting to, that breakout, and it's been just going up and up and up. And the Arctic blast that we talked about, that we were expecting a couple of, there was big weather forecast, and I can't remember. Brain's a little bit foggy at the moment, but that's okay. It was about 2 weeks ago, I think, we're talking the Arctic blast, which was that big move up, the small retracement and the big move up, and then we've gapped up.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking here about, the Arctic blast. And nat gas is actually, nat gas futures have increased by 24,000%.
Yeah, I saw nat gas as well. Yeah.
God, who trades electricity? If anybody we know that was trading electricity has absolutely made an absolute fortune in the last week, congratulations to them. Because good luck is all I can say. But look at that, oils, and by the way, Arctic blast and the complete freeze down. And I was reading a couple of cities in the US have actually had their coldest day on record this morning.
With no energy. I mean, what's happening with that? Are they back on now? Because they were saying they were trying to get it back on by the end of yesterday, weren't they?
They're trying to get things back on. So I imagine it's a little bit fresh in their households.
Yeah.
Fresh is probably a good word. At minus, what was it? Minus 20? And I've been minus 20. And I can tell you between minus 10 and minus 20, it's still cold. It is really, really cold. You barely breathe at those temperatures. By the way, I talk degrees Celsius. I don't talk that funny Fahrenheit stuff. Jeff understands.
I do.
So that move with oil that we see, I think we're going to see that continue, because the other thing is they're doing actually is they're keeping the quotas, and they're keeping the pumping of the oil within the quotas. They're being quite restrictive, and even though the demand has dropped off, we're still seeing that the demand and the supply is being kept under control. All these vaccines, I mean, even Australia have got their first load of Pfizer vaccines, and that's going to start rolling out as well, which is good. But have a look at a chart for Israel, what's happened with Israel and vaccinations, and they've dropped off completely. Now, 28% of their population have been completely vaccinated, and even with that, they think that they're starting to get herd immunity. Same with Iceland and other countries. Smaller countries are starting to get that kind of thing. India, their rate, which was absolutely astronomical, even their rate is starting to drop off. And what the oil market's saying was, well, is this light at the end of the tunnel with things starting to get back on board and production and manufacturing is starting to get back to normal. I think people are just starting to see, as this is distributed, things are starting to get back to normal again.
Yeah.
And before you know it, Ash, Paul will have us in Singapore before we can blink.
Yep. So which means that the airlines are going to need more oil as well.
That's right.
So we've got potentially oil and the inflation picture. So oil, we're really looking for it to go higher, not necessarily at this particular price for an entry, but we're looking for it to go higher.
No, if you drop down to a 4-hour chart, there was a bit of a nice bounce, nice retracement. There we go, there, and that 4-hourly chart. Yeah, it's looking okay, but whether that continue, and if I've got to see that go past that peak, retrace that level, and then keep going. I'm doing that with my head, but you know what I mean.
Yes, so up, down, up.
Yep. You got it.
Yep.
I'm glad you could read my head. My kids read my head, which was it's normally that way. That kind of thing.
I bet you can read theirs. Mum, can I have some money for this, please?
And by the way, the other Sunday when we were on TTR, and I said, "Sorry, Paul, I missed that last question you asked me because I had my youngest asking if she could have a treat before dinner." And Paul said, "Yeah, it's okay. She can have it." The little bugger, she went off and had it, and then couldn't eat her dinner. So when I catch up with that Paul Bottrell, he's in trouble. So don't tell me.
So can we ask about gold as well, Ainsley? What about gold? What's going on with this? I mean, we talked a little bit about silver and Reddit, but what's going on with gold? Now, is inflation going to play out here? And why so far have we not seen? Oh, and I'll tell you what as well. Do you ever look at the relationship between gold and the 10-year yield?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so when the 10-year yield's going higher, we're looking for gold to weaken, right? To tend to.
Yeah, at the moment, a lot of correlations have broken down completely with gold.
Yep.
And poor old gold is suffering. I think it's a case of people, because nothing is really pushing gold along, like the inflation story isn't happening per se until that $1 trillion package goes through with Biden and the stimulus. And by the way, whilst that is still an option on the table, I think there's a bit of, hang on, whoa, let's see, we're starting to vaccinate, things are starting to get back on. Do we need to actually spend as much as we thought we do?
Right.
So there's a little bit of a handbrake as each day goes past, and those, as we said, the vaccination comes down, and the people that aren't getting as sick, or the number of statistics death-wise or anything like that diminishes, there's a bit of a handbrake. And impeachment aside, they're still looking at how to crank that economy back up again. But you're looking at the gold, and gold, it had that lovely run up through, from November through to December, and it's tanked again.
Yep.
Is the money going into the cryptos? Is it going into the S&P? Is it going elsewhere? Is it going to cash? Don't know. But let me tell you, it's not going into gold.
Have you got any thoughts on why the correlations have, I won't say disappeared, I'll say dissipated?
Have broken down? Because...
That's a good word. Well, it's 2 words. I was trying to use one.
Diminished.
That'll do.
Diminished.
Pissed off.
That's 2
Fractured.
words. Yeah, 2 words. Why? I think it's because different elements of different commodities. It's not a blanket reason why a commodity increases. You can't. It's not just one. I mean, having said that, I'm glad I've got BHP shares. However, the other thing is that it's just so many different, and I'm saying different or new-ish factors are affecting different reasonings. And it's going back to the old adage, which is he who holds the gold rules. Who's in charge? The US dollar is picking up, and that's what we're saying. The US dollar is getting a little bit more strength.
Yeah, it is 90.70 on the dollar
and is
index.
that because
don't get carried away, guys.
Not getting carried away, but how's that affected gold?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is it, isn't it? Yeah, I totally agree. Actually, I mean, it is an interesting one. The dollar is actually starting to push this, and maybe again we're kind of back to that kind of dollar story. But I think we see
that
retail
correlation
sales
does look intact right now, doesn't it?
Well,
yeah, it does. Yeah, it
not
does.
necessary correlation. It's because the gold is sold against the US dollar. It's fairly direct.
Well, but that's true.
If that's not a correlation, then what is?
Look at this with the pound. This is gold and the pound. So gold is kind of weakening against everything. Look, this is against the Swissy.
Can you explain to me? Sorry, Ash, I might have missed the top of your show here, but what is with the pound?
Oh,
we don't know.
Jeff and I were just talking about. Do you know what I think it's possibly mostly down to is that where the UK was very, very poor at containing the pandemic and reacting to the pandemic, it's been very, very good at rolling out vaccines. Probably the best at rolling out the vaccines.
Oh, hang on, stand by, wait one. You watch Australia roll it out. They announced tonight. No jab.
We've still got to remember that the pound has, well, I don't know how, percentage-wise, how much has it dropped since 2015, Ash?
Absolutely right.
Percentage.
Yeah.
What was it? 1.6.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, that does, and it is playing a bit of catch up. You're right, and maybe just any glimmer of something kind of gets the pound, because maybe that's what's really going on, is that maybe the pound is moving back to parity. You look at this on a monthly chart, and you're absolutely right, mate. So 2016 is this area here. This is Brexit. So maybe we're just edging towards that 150 level, 145, 150 level.
I think it's just value, isn't it? People are buying because it's value.
Yeah. I think that's fair, mate.
Bloody hell, look at that. Go down, first floor. No, where's ground floor?
Yeah, it's going up now to the second floor. Yeah.
I mean, I remember a guy on Bloomberg saying a pound's cheap as far as he's concerned, because he still remembers the pound 1.6, 1.7. He said until it gets back up there, it's cheap to him, and he's just going to continue to buy.
And you've got to remember that currencies are apt to do that. Currencies have a very narrow band in terms of history, where their value is, where they're prepared to trade, right?
That's right.
As soon as they hit here, they come back that way. As they hit here, they go back that way.
Yeah,
it's never
true. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to have to clear out.
Right, mate.
And start the homeschooling. So I will see you all tomorrow. I don't know who wants to take the screen. I've got it currently.
I'll take the screen.
You take the screen. All right, guys. Yep. Thanks, Ainsley. See you soon.
Hang on, I'll just take the strip show off. Right, done. See you, mate.
See you, buddy. See you, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye. See ya.
Right now, I'm just going to briefly update you guys. As I said before, pound, we got into the pound, we hit TP1, just hit TP1, gave us a free trade. We're now out. We're now out of that. Good luck with the rest of it. It's just a mess. What else are we in? Aussie Kiwi. We got into Aussie Kiwi. We're just in profit. Big pardon?
I said I was looking at this chart earlier. Now you're down on a 30-minute chart. No, that's a 4-hourly chart. What was I looking at? I was looking at a daily chart on that, and I was thinking, oh, that's interesting.
It was good on a daily chart. I agree with you. Because of that bar there. I said to my group this morning that if you weren't in the one, I traded this one. If you weren't in this one, then there's far worse trades to take than putting your entry here and putting your stops under here.
Correct. With your profit up around that top white line. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the obvious one.
Obvious.
So that's the trade. That's the trade that we're in. Look, it hasn't. I hate it. I absolutely hate being taken in on a bar like that. I really get peeved because the bar
big.
I want to get taken in on is down here. It's not up here.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I think over time you'll find that will appreciate and get up to here. Whether we can withstand the noise of what happens next, I don't know. So that one's
Jeff,
going okay.
What do you reckon about the resources? The resources have done really, really well this week. BHP had their record dividend, by the way. Huge.
Record.
They've done really well. Glencore's reinvested. BHP's done well. So a lot of the resources, I reckon, are going to really buoy the Aussie dollar.
Yeah, it's going to pump. Yes, I agree. When you say BHP had a record, what do you mean by that?
They posted their record dividend. It was the largest dividend they've released.
Ever?
Yeah.
You're kidding. That's amazing in this environment.
No,
wow.
Well, hello. It's going back for the last quarter. They've withheld dividends, by the way. So
it's a compound dividend.
Never compound, but it was really they've done really well. I mean, despite the current status with the China situation, they still have been doing amazingly well and getting huge. I mean, iron ore has been at record profits and stuff, at record prices and things like that. So we are a resource nation, and when we have resources just pumping it, we really benefit from it.
It's not going to change anytime soon. And as I said to Ash, it's funny that you mentioned the pound, because I was talking about that earlier. He was looking for a short pound Aussie, and my comment was that they are the two strongest currencies on the board. Interesting that you should choose them as trading opposites. And we had a little conversation about that, and that's why I say it's interesting, because we did have a good conversation about the pound before you came in. And despite his fears, and I think eventually he'll be right, despite his fears that the UK is in deep SH1T, the thing is the pound is strengthening rapidly. You can't really go against that momentum right now. I think you've got to be a pound bull at the moment.
No. However, flip side said for us as well, and I've got to say, Jeff, if they get a few, and they're working on the diplomatic relations with China at the moment, which it's been a bit of it's hit the wine industry, it's hit the fresh seafood industry,
barley, beef.
Yeah. So there's been a few other
despite all of that, the Aussie is still rallying.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they've got a really good handle on the vaccinations and the quarantining, and we've had 909 deaths during this pandemic, and I get we were slightly smaller than the UK, definitely a lot smaller than the US, and I think there's quite a few other Asian countries as well. We've got a handle on it. We've done it. We've done what the government's asked us when we've been asked, mask up, stay at home, quarantine. We've done it, sucked it up, and then got back to work.
The tracing, I think, has been the number one thing, because we've been able to keep track of it. Yeah, that's I think a big tip for us.
A few stuff-ups to be expected, especially in hotel quarantining.
Yeah, Daniel Andrews has had a few issues, to say the least.
However, moving forward, everybody's sort of like got the eye on the prize. It's like, let's get going with the vaccinations. I believe they'll start them. And the thing with the AstraZeneca one, unlike the Pfizer vaccine, you've got between 4 and 12 weeks for the second shot. The Pfizer vaccine, you need to have it within 3 weeks of the first shot. the logistics of handling that vaccination and people getting back on board and things getting back to normal is probably logistically a lot easier to digest than the Pfizer one.
Yeah, I had a good conversation with a former GP from Bondi Beach, actually, who told me, and I don't know if this is public knowledge, I assume it is, that the AstraZeneca is not necessarily friendly to elderly people.
Yeah, there was some chat about that yesterday. And
was there? Okay.
Yeah,
maybe she's just read the news. I don't know.
And it was 3 people in Norway who were administered the AstraZeneca, and they were elderly and frail, and 3 of them passed away after having the vaccines. And they just said what hasn't been actually, it's not that they were over 65, they were actually in their 80s and quite frail, and whether they were going to whether the vaccine actually contributed to their demise is something they aren't sure, and they won't be sure.
3 from 3, you would tend to suggest that that's not a coincidence.
Not a great
anyway,
stat, but over 65 is
not for me to say.
Yeah, it's very low. We could push that up to over 75 if it makes you feel better.
Well, it does, because the jabs start to roll out in Tassie on Tuesday, and because I'm the oldest person in Tasmania, I think I'm up the top of the list. So.
I don't think so.
I'll certainly be lining up, that's for sure. So listen, we've got to get out of here. It's we're over time. I'll briefly go through what I'm in and what I'm not in and what I'm looking for. Have you got anything that you want to draw to our attention, or all's good?
Just holding with gold. I'm just holding tight at the moment because I've got a lot of conflicted time frames, and it's into a level of support, and it's just not going anywhere. We've had a sell-off. We had a major sell-off last night as the US dollar increased on gold. At the moment, it increased against gold. Sorry, not with gold. Increased against gold, but at the moment we've just come down and hit a level of support. So we're sitting down around that 17. I can't believe I'm saying 90. It should have been at 2100 at the year into December. But anyway, we're talking 1789 at the moment.
1789, right? Okay.
It was actually 1788, which is just. However, that's a level of support. So whether it's going to continue to topple down, I don't know. But as we know, gold, oil, and some of the other softer commodities are really affected by the news and things coming out. And obviously, if we have a strong rally on the US dollar, it's going to impact on gold. If we're going to have a really better than expected recovery with vaccines, we're going to have a further drop on gold. One of the biggest drops we had in the last 6 months was when the announcement of the Pfizer vaccine was given efficacy rate of, it was announced as being successful efficacy rate of 95%, and gold just dropped like a dog. So the only other one is let's see what happens with oil, because we've got all the other bits and pieces associated with oil, and the US just having yet another, not even a pandemic issue, it's having a heating issue, and heating and natural gas. And I don't trade nat gas, but anybody trading nat gas or electricity and things like that, I think they're in for a bit of a ride yet, because that's still going to be pumping, because they need for the heating to get back on board. And people like wallpaper.
Sorry?
I said,
so
need it.
With gold?
Yes.
1789, right? That's your support level?
1780, it's just a little, it's around that 1788, 89 level. And it's just coming into it now, and it's spent the day just bouncing around that little level all day since it opened.
Okay, so you'd be waiting for what to get interested?
To get interested, I think we're going to look for another leg down, actually, to be quite honest. But it's struggling to get past this level of support. It's really strong. So I can't, I mean, all my indicators are saying we still want to go short. But let's see what happens with the US dollar. Let's see what happens with what else is going out there. But at the moment, if you see a setup for a short on gold, do it for a short and have tight stops. Oil,
Okay.
long. And I agree with you. I'm looking for some nice reasons, some good reasons to go for a long on Aussie dollar.
Okay, mate. Happy days. I will very, very briefly go through what I'm looking for. CAD Swiss, we're still looking for that lower high based on these highs, as we're now inside this range. This may well be it, but it's in a dreadful, dreadful position because we're in the pivots. So I'm kind of taking that away from my watch list. EuroCAD, we're still in. We've got 125 pips to go before we hit TP1. That's all good. As I said, that may be still Christmas before we're into that. Aussie dollar, we're free trading Aussie dollar. We're at daily pivot now. If we can get a little bit of a push through here, then I think we'll be in search of new highs. The big picture here is telling me that we're going to 80, that level there. So there's absolutely nothing to do here. Well, actually there is, because if we get an opportunity, and we really probably had it there, that was the opportunity there, as I pointed out before. I wanted to have a good look at that candle. That was a scale in point for me. Stop loss there, entry there, but I can't do it because my rules prevent me from going long into a daily pivot that's untested. And that's pretty much exactly what we're seeing at the moment. We're seeing that act as resistance. I don't think it'll hold, frankly. I think this will go through. I've got to find a way in here as a scale in, but I won't do it unless I've got a clear picture. But that's my counsel. Dollar Sing, we're now out of that trade. As I said, we got a TP1 only, barely got a TP1, but we did. So not quite a free trade. We lost it, maybe a schooner of beer, maybe a pint of beer on that. That's about it. I don't know that I want to get back into this short right now. The dollar has gapped overnight on the dollar index. I haven't shown you that chart yet. There it is. So that's interesting. I woke up this morning and things had changed. And what the bloody hell's going on here? This shouldn't have happened, but it happened, as it does. You know, the one thing I've learned over many years of trading is the one thing that you think can't happen can certainly happen, and that's exactly what happened. We got a gap up on the dollar index, which I'm sure most of you would have seen in your charts. I'm guessing, and it is a guess, that we're going to 91 again based on that, but we are still at this level here. So anything could happen. Don't know. Question mark, as far as I'm concerned. So you've probably got to expect that we're going to here. What happens after that, I'll be looking for a sell again. I don't think I'd like to enter any positions based on what I'm seeing at the moment because it's really inconclusive as far as I'm concerned. But take it on board that if it does get to that resistance level, I'll be looking for a short, most definitely. So Dollar Sing's now back off the radar. I can close that one. That's Gonski. Aussie Kiwi, as I just said, we're bang on entry at the moment. Actually, we're just below entry at the moment. No problem with this one. I think this is destined for here. Daily pivot's protecting our stop at the moment. No, nothing to do. Pound Kiwi, I'm really keen to get into this based on the monthly chart. As I said before, beautiful tweezer bottom sitting here at a strong support level. And I probably could have traded that, but we're already in one monthly trade. How many monthly trades do you want to get into? So I'm really looking for a pullback here. This really does interest me. A pullback to the pivots would be awesome. So pick your chart, guys. You know, if by the end of the week we come back to this level here, that would be awesome. Excellent entry point for a long there. Daily chart, weekly pivot maybe, 4-hourly chart, daily pivot maybe. all of those things are on my radar. So I'll be watching that very, very closely. Actually, the best case scenario, if you want to trade intraday, would be this. Whoops, get up there. So get down to here and look for the bounce. Best case scenario, we come down to hit the weekly pivot, then come back above here and retest the confluence. Away we go. That's what I'll be looking for on pound Kiwi. Dollar Sing we've spoken about. Pound US dollar. Don't want to know about it right now. I think I'd much rather trade the pound pursuant to what I've just said on the US dollar. I'd rather trade the pound against something weak like the Kiwi. Sorry, not the Kiwi, the yen. Kiwi, yes, because I can see that set up. But I'd be looking for weaker currencies than the pound, than the dollar to trade it against at the moment. Silver, as you know, we're in that weekly position. Why? Good question, why? We haven't entered the trade yet, but we're getting closer to it. I've explained why, and it's all about this key reversal bar and inside bar. Not perfect, as I said before. If you want to go with this very, very small stake, guys, because I'm so uncertain about it, don't trade silver. So I'm not familiar with the cross. Be very, very wary of that. But the entry levels below there, I thought I had the parameters on my chart, but I don't. I think from memory, the entry was at 26.65. Yes, it was. And the stop loss is at 27.85, if you want to follow that. You might even want to sneak your stop loss above this week's candles to date, which is 27.95, right? So you can slip that up another 10 points. I can totally see this as a market structure, right? Down to here. And if that's the case, you know, I can't see that from a fundamental viewpoint, but you don't have to. Technically, this has got every right to go back to this level and maybe even beyond. So just saying, that's what it looks like, the potential. And that's why I'm happy to take it, right? Aussie CAD, I'm surprised at this, frankly, if this does break higher because of the oil situation, really, primarily. CAD tends to benefit from a higher oil price, and to see Aussie CAD going long here is interesting. But what it does underline for me is the strength of the Aussie. All right, sorry about the dead battery in your car, Helen. Not sure how you knew that whilst you were in the show, but anyway, you're a very versatile person. Now, the bad news is we're in Kiwi Swissy short, and that's just gone ape shit in the last half hour or so. That does not look good at this point. We need help here very, very badly. There's nothing you can do. You just wait and see if you hit your stop loss or not. It's probably in as good a position as it can be. If this goes long, it goes long. It's as simple as that. Yeah, well, I'm okay for now. You know, you don't get the SH1Ts because that's happening. You just wait and see what happens. And if it does go, as I say, if it goes long, it goes long. I don't know that it will, but all things are possible. We've got some decent resistance here in the weekly pivot and the trade line. I tell you what I would get interested with, if it does take us out, but comes back underneath both the weekly pivot, the daily pivot, and the trade line, or trend line as it is, and retests this, then I think I would re-enter, because I think this has got prospects. And guys, I think that's about it. Dollar CAD I did have on my, oh no, I was talking about that because somebody asked me the question, wasn't it? You missed pound US dollar, darn it. Don't darn it, Helen. We got taken in, we got TP1 and then got break-even trade. So nothing's happened, really. It's gone absolutely nowhere since we opened. And I think that's pretty much the story at this point in time. We don't have anything that I'm looking to hang my hat on a smaller time frame. So guys, that is hump day over and done. Don't forget, you got Shukri coming up in about 2.5 hours. Always a good listen to Shukri, and man, he's just hitting it out of the park. It's unbelievable what the cryptos are doing at the moment. I am out of here. Thank you so much for being part of our Wednesday, and we'll look forward to doing it again next Wednesday, and we'll catch you on Sunday, no doubt.
Yes. Okay, we'll see you then.
Have a good one, mate.
You too. Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.